Hi friends, happy first day of spring, if you can believe it. I wanted to come live again and present a little bit of old and new information based on questions that I have been receiving from many of you. Once again, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing these videos. I do hope that they are helping people to at least find some peace or some calm in a very unprecedented time. I know that not having enough information or having so much information that you don't know what to believe can often contribute to the feelings of angst and fear that many of us already have. And so I hope that this platform or this forum at least helps a few of you out there. Before I get started, because I want to share some updates as well as some information about symptoms, medications, and how to stay healthy, I want to briefly address the now small percentage of you out there who don't believe that this is real. And what I will tell you is that nature is not a force to be reckoned with. Nature and science are smarter than politics. This is not a hoax. This is very real, and it is going to get worse before it gets better. I could probably tell those of you who don't believe that this is real anything and everything. I could share all the numbers, all the statistics, but you will likely continue to hear what you want to hear and see what you want to see. So the bottom line is this. If you are okay having someone else's blood on your hands, then keep doing what you're doing. Keep going to the bars, keep going to the beaches, keep spreading your germs. Because the fact of the matter is, you may or may not get this virus. You may or may not have any symptoms. But if you do get this virus, you are going to spread it simply because of the nature of the virus and because of human nature. And maybe the person that you spread it to dies. Or maybe the person that you spread it to spreads it to someone else and they die. But because of your intentional action of not socially distancing yourself from other people, in my humble opinion, the blood of that person who died is on your hands because you chose to continue to do what you wanted to do, what suited your best interests, rather than looking out for our community at large. That's it. That's why this is so important, friends. We need to stay home to protect one another, to protect our elderly, to protect our immunocompromised, and quite honestly, to protect our children. And if that's not important to you, then like I said, keep doing what you're doing. But for the rest of us out there that want to protect those we love, keep doing what you are doing because it's working and it will work. Okay, so in terms of the latest updates, I am going to give you the bad news and then I'm going to give you the good news because there is some good news in the craziness that we are all experiencing right now. The bad news is that there have been over 236 cases worldwide to date and 9,817 deaths. In the US, we are up to over 10,000 cases with 160 deaths. Here in California, we are up to 870 cases with 16 deaths. In Kern County, where I live, you may have already heard, there was one confirmed case, and that was from someone who was traveling from New York. What I will tell you for those of us that live in Kern County, please do not wait to act until we have more confirmed cases. Quite honestly, to me, that's like pulling out your umbrella after you're already soaking wet. This is the time to socially distance so that we can keep our numbers low or at least prevent them from surging like they are in the two major cities that are directly north of us and directly south of us. And again, we can talk numbers all you want, but the bottom line is that this is spreading and people are dying. And as I mentioned, it's going to get worse before it gets better. A lot of people have asked, when is this going to be over? I think, as I mentioned even in my first video, let's try to separate from one another for 2 weeks. And in these last 7 days, we know that 2 weeks is not going to be enough. I quite honestly wasn't surprised when the governor said that most of our kids probably aren't going to go back to school till the fall, because this is going to be something that might take months for us to recover from. For example, with China, they had their first case almost 3 months ago, and they just had their first 24-hour period without a new case. So I can't say that our numbers and our demographics are exactly like China, but I will tell you that this is not going to be a couple of weeks of inconvenience. The good news. I'm sure you've all seen the government is trying to respond. Researchers are trying to find cures and vaccines and better tests. Some are better than others, and there is a lot of work that still remains to be done. I know none of this is perfect, and I know there's a lot to complain about. But the last time I checked, complaining doesn't magically create cures for medical diseases. So we should try to keep our complaining as much as we can to a minimum. Action is what helps, and action is what so many of you are doing by socially distancing yourself, and it's going to make a difference, I guarantee you. The good news is that number one, researchers have actually delivered a vaccine to 19 human patients. And I know that's a tiny, tiny number in terms of what I already fed you in regards to numbers, but again, we have to start somewhere. Air pollution has actually plummeted in areas or cities that have high rates of quarantine. And I will tell you, I see this in my own town. For those of you that know Kern County or Bakersfield, we are in a basin. So we get a lot of air pollution from surrounding cities, and our air quality has been amazing. So again, I know it's not going to change the world right now, but it's something to take advantage of and to breathe in that fresh, clean air that we have. In South Korea, the number of recoveries has been more than the number of new cases for the last 3 days. And as I just mentioned, in China, they just had their first 24 hours without any new cases. And they are starting to be able to close down those centers and hospitals that were dedicated strictly to coronavirus patients. And I think what probably affects us most directly in terms of what good is coming out of this is that our communities are really starting to come together, as they often do in times of turmoil. Stores are opening early for the elderly. Donations are being made to food banks. Public schools are giving our kids meals. Teachers are pouring their hearts and souls into online learning resources to help our kids. Gyms are offering at-home workouts that don't require any equipment. So people are doing what they can, and this is exactly what our community needs right now. Next, I want to talk a little bit about symptoms. A few days ago, I posted a chart about symptoms that are common with coronavirus versus the cold versus the flu versus allergies. And to me, that was very helpful. But what I realize is that that's helpful because I look at it from my medical eyes. And every day when I go to work, what I do is I listen to you tell me what symptoms your kids have, and then I examine them and I put that information together and I discuss with you what I think is happening with your child. And day in and day out, that is my practice. But not all of you do that. So when you look at that chart and you see that a sore throat sometimes happens with coronavirus, that makes you worried. When in fact, when I look at that chart and you tell me that you have a sore throat, that makes me reassured. And so I wanted to help clarify a little bit in terms of symptoms. And the bottom line is that hands down, every single person, certainly that has died or that has been hospitalized from coronavirus, has respiratory distress. They can't breathe. This is not that they can't breathe because their nose is all stuffed up. They can't breathe as though they have a straw filled with a thick milkshake, and that is their only way to get air. They are struggling to breathe, and they are in need of support. Many of them have fever. Many of them have dry cough. Those are the things that we are looking out for. If you have sneezing, if you have a runny nose, if you have vomiting, if you have diarrhea, if you have a sore throat, I can't tell you for sure that you don't have coronavirus, but what I can tell you is that you are currently falling into that category with a mild illness because you are still able to breathe. And right now, as much as I wish we could test everybody, we're focusing on those individuals that are struggling to breathe. And I know it's unsettling for me to tell you, if you have some symptoms, but you're breathing okay, don't necessarily leave your house and seek medical care. And here's a little bit of an explanation as to why I'm telling you this. When you have a sore throat, and perhaps you think you have strep throat, you can go to any doctor's office or any clinic or urgent care, and they're going to swab you for strep throat, and in a couple of minutes time they can tell you the result of that test. And if it's positive, we're going to give you antibiotics and you're going to feel better in a day or two. And if it's negative, we're going to tell you that it's a virus, to do some warm saltwater gargles and write it out and go home. And it's that simple. This virus is not that simple. If you come in and you do get a test, we're looking at 8 days before we can even tell you what the result of that test is. And even if I tell you it's positive, I don't have a treatment for you right now. I'm still going to tell you to do your best, just to stay as healthy as you can, to rest and support your body in the way that it needs. And if you get to the point where you're struggling to breathe, then you need to seek emergency medical care. And if you come in and you don't have the severe symptoms, we're likely not going to test you right now because, as I just mentioned, this test that was supposed to have a 48-hour turnaround time is now running 8 days behind. And if we keep backlogging the system by just testing everybody, we're going to miss the cases where we absolutely need to know who has it because they are the ones in our hospitals on respirators dying. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense to you in regards to symptoms. Next is medications. Many of you have heard that perhaps ibuprofen could be a problem with COVID-19. And I will tell you that we don't know for sure, but I think that in this time, perhaps it is a good idea to avoid taking ibuprofen, which is Motrin or Advil, if you are having fevers or body aches or pain. Right now we have a suitable alternative, which is Tylenol, and I don't think it does any harm to you to use Tylenol instead of Motrin, assuming that you are allowed to take Tylenol because you are not allergic to it or you don't have any kidney problems. There has also been some concern, and this is pretty specific, but it is happening in my world, of kidney disease for those of you that have high blood pressure and take a class of medications called ACE inhibitors or ARBs. It seems that by the way that these medications work and certain things that are going on in your lungs, perhaps this medication could put you at risk for a more severe illness. We don't know that for sure, and the nephrology community at large throughout the United States is encouraging our patients to continue on their blood pressure medications because having uncontrolled blood pressure is a problem, and it's probably not going to help you if you were to be exposed to this virus in the first place. Next, yes, I have notes again. Some people have asked me, I still have to go to work, and what do I do? Well, there's many of us that are going to continue to work through this pandemic, whether we are in the food service industry, whether we are working in grocery stores, whether we are in the pharmacy, of course, our first responders, those who are involved in garbage and recycling pickup. But for any one of you who has flexibility with your job and you don't have to work, you have the ability to work remotely, then we need you to stay home so that you can keep the rest of us safe. And we are basically going to work for you, so please stay home for us. For those of you that are going to work, obviously wash your hands and do the 20 seconds, not just a quick wash, but like the full happy birthday song. Don't touch others right now. It's okay to just say, how are you doing? And keep your hands like this. It's okay to say namaste, but don't necessarily shake hands right now. We can hug a little bit later on. Avoid meeting and eating in large groups. Wash your hands as soon as you come home. And although we don't think that this virus lives for too long on softer objects like clothing, I honestly don't think it hurts to change your clothes before you come in and interact with your family as well. Last but not least are a few tips on staying healthy. And I will tell you that I'm pretty old school and I am not an expert on the latest and greatest in terms of supplements. What I will tell you is to be careful with supplements. Number one, vitamin C. I know everybody loves a good emergency packet, but vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin. So what that means is that when you take it and you kind of filled your body up to as much as it has room for, you pee out the rest. So 100 to 200 milligrams is probably what your body can tolerate on a daily basis, and your kidneys are smart enough to pee the rest of it out. So 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C every day is really not doing you any good. And quite honestly, if you're not drinking enough water, that's an increased risk factor for developing kidney stones. There's a lot of talk about vitamin D, and I will tell you that I am a strong advocate for vitamin D. I do believe that it's important for our immune system health and our cardiovascular health. But unlike vitamin C, vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. So you can overdose on vitamin D, and you can have vitamin D in toxicity. So please beware of taking massive doses of vitamin D on a regular basis. Okay, so the 5 things that I think will keep you healthy, as boring as they are. Number 1 is sleep. Study after study after study has shown that our bodies repair themselves during sleep. Our immune system is stronger when we sleep. And I get it. This is a time of angst and fear and anxiety, and not a lot of us are sleeping very well. But here's what I can tell you to at least try, is to keep a bedtime routine. Put your phones down 30 minutes before it's time to go to bed. Turn off the news, read a book that has nothing to do with coronavirus, maybe something that actually makes you feel good. Turn down the lights, do some deep breathing, try to relax, and let your brain rest from everything that is happening in this world right now. Number 2, drink water. I told you these were boring. Not coffee or tea or wine, but water. Our bodies are 67% water, and we need it to function at our optimal status. Now, this doesn't mean overdose on water. Take your 1 to 2 liters in. That's about what most of us need, closer to 2. Don't drink 4 and 5 and 6 liters of water, really ever, but particularly if you never have. Just don't skimp yourself on water. Don't live like a reptile right now. Try to help your body work as efficiently as it possibly can. Number 3, eat the rainbow. Try to get your essential vitamins at their optimal level while you can. And I know that our grocery stores are dismal right now, but at this point in time, we know that they are going to stay open and they are going to do their best to deliver us fresh fruits and vegetables. So buy what you can, eat what you can. Try not to just eat everything out of a box or a wrapper or a package. Number 4, exercise. It's really amazing how many gyms are offering online services right now. But maybe you hate exercise. Maybe exercise hasn't been your thing up until now. Well, go for a walk. Get some fresh air. Move your body. We know that moderate exercise actually strengthens the immune system. And you don't have to be excessive like I am, but do some yoga, do some Pilates, jump some rope, have a dance party with your kids, walk your dog. Doesn't matter. Just move your body and get your heart rate going. Number 4, which I think is really, really important, is to work on your mindset. This is an unprecedented time, and many of us are very, very nervous, to put it lightly. And we have a lot of fear and angst and anxiety and discomfort and every other bad feeling out there. And we have to do anything we can to calm these feelings. And I will tell you that scrolling on social media is probably not going to help your mindset. And I say that even though I'm on it, just like you guys, probably far too much every single day. This is going to be a marathon, guys. It is not a sprint. There is no finish line that is even in sight for us yet. So take things one day at a time, or even half a day at a time. Give yourself grace. Don't worry if you are not as good of a teacher as your children's teachers have been to them. Set up 1 to 2 things that you want to accomplish in that day, and do it. And be proud of yourself for getting 1 or 2 things done that day, and find joy in the effort. Keep it simple. Find a podcast that you can listen to once a day, or a book. Wake up, like I do, and think about 3 things that you are grateful for from the previous day before you get out of bed, before you brush your teeth, before you jump on your phone to see what's the latest article that's telling us about coronavirus. I'm telling you, we are still in for some hard times, and if our mindsets are faltering right now, the future is not going to be as easy as it potentially could be if we had a stronger mindset. Another way to feel good is to do something for someone else. Call a friend, share a good recipe online, post cute pictures or funny memes. I know that what I'm doing is what makes me feel as though I can help others. But what you're doing doesn't necessarily have to be a Facebook Live if that is not your jam. It's okay. Like I said, tell your kids you love them. Call your mom. Have a conversation. Do some FaceTime. Connect with people, because for once in our lives, we're not so busy anymore. We actually have the time to connect with other people. And maybe it's not face to face, but because of modern technology, it doesn't have to be face to face. And finally, I will tell you, set some boundaries with the time that you spend with this virus every day. There is way too much information out there, and you simply cannot take it all in, weed out the good, the bad, the ugly, the truth, the lies. And quite honestly, how much you read about it, or even how much I read about it, is not necessarily going to change things. You and I are doing what we can by staying home, and we will let the scientists take care of the science and looking for those vaccines and looking for those treatments. But the best thing that you and I can do is to stay home. And for those of you who have really implemented that in your lives and your families' lives, I commend you for it. Last but not least, remember that we are the human race. We have survived wars, pandemics, depressions, recessions, you name it. And as a human race, we have a 100% survival rate. That does not mean that we are not going to lose people in our neighborhoods or our cities or our country from this virus. But as humankind, we are going to survive this. Nothing has yet to take us down, and I certainly don't think it's going to be coronavirus that does it. But we need to act mindfully, we need to act quickly, and we need to take care of those around us. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed round 3. I'll be back at you later on. Bye-bye.